All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The Court of Appeals for the State of Indiana is now in session. Please be seated.
Welcome to this wonderful event and this beautiful day. My name is Nancy Vedic. I'm the Chief Judge of the Indiana Court of Appeals. And I'm going to begin here by introducing all of the dignitaries and members of the court here. Judge Tavitas, where are you? There you are. You have a lot of dignitaries here. So it might be half of the ceremony, actually. So let me start by introducing the members of my court. In front of me is John Baker, Judge John Baker, Judge Robert Altice, Judge Paul Mathias, Judge Melissa May. Judge Najum is here in the front row with Judge Kirsch, Judge Margaret Robb, Judge Cale Bradford, Judge Elaine Brown. We also have the judge from the tax court here, Judge Martha Wentworth. We have Senior Judge Tom Fisher here from the tax court. We also have Senior Judge Zeke Friedlander from the Court of Appeals, Senior Judge Carr Darden from the Court of Appeals, Senior Judge Mike Barnes here from the Court of Appeals, and Senior Judge Randall Shepard from the Court of Appeals. We always take him in. We never allow you to take him.
I would.
We also have some retired Supreme Court Justice along with Chief Justice Shepard. We have retired Justice Frank Sullivan is here. Retired Justice Myra Selby is here. Retired Justice Brent Dixon is here. Retired Judge William Gerard is here. And retired Judge Linda Cheesem is here as well. From our state executive branch, you've seen that our governor, Eric Holcomb, is here. We also have Joseph Herons here, who's the governor's general counsel. We have Cynthia Carrasco here, who's a deputy general counsel, and Michael Nassett here, who's also a deputy general counsel. From the trial court, there's lots of good representatives here from the trial court. We have a magistrate from the Lake Circuit Court, Lisa Burdine, Honorable Marissa McDermott, judge from the Lake Circuit Court. We have Stephen Shealy, a magistrate from the Lake Circuit Court. We have a magistrate, Thomas Hallett, here from Lake Superior Court. We have the Honorable Bruce Parent, judge of the Lake Superior Court. Judge John Pera is here. Judge Natalie Bogota is here, a magistrate from Lake Superior Court. Michael Pagano is here from the Lake Superior Court. Amy Talion, a magistrate judge from the Lake Superior Court. Robert Vann, a magistrate from the Lake Superior Court. All of Lake County is here. Honorable Calvin Hawkins, judge, Lake Superior Court. Timothy Orms, magistrate from the Lake Superior Court. Crystal Briscoe, magistrate from the St. Joseph Court. Steve Hostetler is here, a judge from the St. Joe Superior Court. The Honorable Mary Ann DeBoer, magistrate from Porter Superior Court. Greta Friedman from LaPorte Superior Court. Richard Stallbrink from LaPorte Superior Court. Judge Matthew Headley from Putnam Circuit Court. Christopher Lee from Fulton Circuit Court. Benjamin Diener from Carroll Circuit Court. Jennifer Newton from Huntington Superior Court. She also has all of her graduate judge alumni here with her, I can see. Judge Stephanie LeMay Lucan from the Hendricks Superior Court, Tammy Summers, magistrate from the Hendricks Superior Court, Bob Frazee, fourth judge of the Hendricks Superior Court, Cheryl Lynch, judge from Marion Circuit Court, Marie Kern, magistrate from Marion Circuit Court, Tom Feltz from Allen Circuit Court, and Fran Gull. Where are you, Fran? Sorry, from Allen Superior Court. We also have Barbara Harcourt, a senior judge here. Cheryl Williamson, also a senior judge. Nancy Gettinger is here as a senior judge. We have Nancy Gargula here, United States trustee. Do we have Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson here from the city of Gary? It continues on. From the bar, we have Carlton Martin, who is the Indiana Clio Director and Coalition for Court Access to Justice staff attorney, and also the president of the Marion County Bar Association. Stephen Sursich is here from the Lake County Bar Association. Deborah White is here from the Lake County Bar Association. Franklin Julian is here, who is the president of the Indiana Trial Lawyers Association. Charles Dunlap is here from the Indiana Bar Foundation. James Bell, president of the Indianapolis Bar Association. We have Karen Bravo, the vice dean and professor of law at McKinney School of Law. We also have Bradley Skolnick here, the director of the Indiana Office of Admissions. Lynette Long from the Judicial Nominating Commission, and Molly Kitchell as well from the Judicial Nominating Commission. Thank you both for choosing Judge Tavitas as one of the three. We have Robert Rath here, the director of the Appellate Court Technology, Mary Dupree, Trial Court Technology, Brenda Rodeheffer, General Counsel for the Indiana Supreme Court, Jeff Berkovitz from the Indiana Office of Court Services, Karen Graves, Administrator from Indiana Tax Court, Leslie Dunn, the State Director for the Gallon Casa Program, and our Administrator, Larry Morris from the Court of Appeals. If I've forgotten anyone, I'm sorry, but that's a long list of persons. I do want to now turn it over to our Chief Justice, Justice Loretta Rush, who was recently named as the Government Person of the Year by the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, for her to be able to introduce the members of her court.
Thank you, Chief Judge Reddick. Well, about 45 minutes ago, I saw there was a press announcement that they had picked a panel in Allen County, 3 finalists. So I know that Justice David is now speeding on his way back from Allen County. So I wouldn't be surprised if he'd show up. So he's not here, but he sends his best. On behalf of the Indiana Supreme Court, we welcome you. I'm very glad to have you as part of the appellate bench. With me today are my colleagues, Mark Massa, Jeffrey Slaughter, and Christopher Gall.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Now we begin with the speeches, and we begin with the governor of the state of Indiana, Eric Holcomb. I want to say, Governor Holcomb, that you have done many good things as a governor, but what we very much appreciate from the judges is your partnership that you have formed with the judges, but also the selection process that you have put into effect for not only the Court of Appeals judges, but for the trial court bench as well, and the Supreme Court justices. It's a wonderful system. Your team goes out and interviews people in field, watches them on the bench or doing their job as lawyers, and it's been a great process, which resulted in a great choice here. So thank you. Thank you. So here it is, Governor Holcomb.
Madam Chief Justice, Supreme Court Justices, judges of the Court of Appeals of Indiana, gathered friends and guests,
Good afternoon. It is a great Indiana day. It's another important day for Indiana as well as it is for our judicial system, for the entire state, as we can see by the luminaries and the members of our citizens of our state that have assembled here to be witness on this occasion. As governor, there are very few actions that I can ever take that will have a longer lasting impact or future ramifications on our state than appointments to our judiciary. And to select a member of the state's second highest court is a great responsibility, and one of which you allude to that I am humbled to make and take. It's a responsibility that, as you mentioned, I take seriously and methodically. And it's been difficult, I must confess, for many reasons, of which I'm sure you could wager a guess why. Not the least of which is the encouraging depth of talent nestled from every corner of our state. This was evidenced to me again by the number of aspirants and brilliant legal minds vying for the opportunity to fill the seat of Judge Barnes on the Indiana Court of Appeals. And that's no small order, by the way. There are very few people in our state who have made as many significant contributions to the judiciary, to the rule of law, and to vulnerable populations and other worthy causes than has Judge Barnes. He certainly leaves a big void. And throughout this process to fill this seat, which was handled with the diligence and dignity that has become the hallmark of the Judicial Nominating Commission under the leadership of Chief Justice Rush, Judge Tavitas lived up to their billing, really exceeded it each and every step along the way. Now, I know I don't need to tell, this is like leading the witness. I mean, I don't need to tell this group of gathered friends and family and colleagues, but Judge Tavitas is a true public servant. She gets the service aspect of this. She possesses, of course, a keen intellect and steady temperament. Her academic credentials, undergrad and law degrees at Notre Dame, second to none. Her reputation for fairness is matched only by her deep understanding of the Constitution and of the rule of law. In fact, Judge Tavitas has often been praised by those on the losing side of her rulings, which is something not many of us in public life can say all of it. Certainly her achievements don't stop at the bench, although those are plenty enough to warrant her appointment to this high position. Judge Tavitas is a community leader. It's so, I'm not surprised by the overwhelming support here from the region. She's a community leader, someone that has looked to a trailblazer. And of course, she's a loving mother and grandmother. In short, I really do believe she is the exact right person at the right time that Indiana needs on the Court of Appeals. and I have the utmost faith and confidence that she will serve with distinction for years and years to come. Thank you all, and congratulations to us.
So next we have Judge Tavitas' son, Nathan Hansen, who's going to speak on her behalf. He's here as the wife of Evie and the father, or the husband of Evie, sorry, you know what the heck. And the father of Susanna, who's right over there if you want to look at her, who's being perfect now and wants to hear her father speak. So if you would do so at this time, Nathan Hansen.
Thank you, Chief Judge, members of the Supreme Court, members of the Court of Appeals. I probably should start by saying, may it please the court. That's something that I used to have to do, right? Thank you, everybody else, for coming. It's unbelievable to see the turnout today for somebody who's very special to me. First, on behalf of my wife, who's over here, Evelyn, my daughter, Susanna, my sisters, Christian and Catherine, let me start by saying, Mom, we are incredibly proud of you. Of course, I can only speak for the last 36 years, but it has been quite the journey from a single mother in the midst of working on her degree at the University of Notre Dame to the 9th female appointed to the Indiana Court of Appeals. Throughout her life, my mom has exhibited 3 significant traits that have equally guided her personal and professional life: determination, intelligence, and selflessness. Some of my earliest memories are from my grandparents' house in Mishawaka, where my mom was raised. As a single mother, she understandably needed some help with her hyper child in order to attend to her studies. Some nights after dinner, she would attempt to sneak upstairs to her room, I assumed to either write a paper or review cases for class the next day, while I would be downstairs, surely driving my grandparents crazy. Inevitably, I would run up the stairs and into her room to see what she was doing, which resulted in her spending time with me until I either passed out or went back downstairs to bother somebody else. Little did I know at the time that it was a regular occurrence for her lights to be on in her room until all hours of the night, getting her work done for the next day and beyond. Mom, I sincerely apologize for all the interruptions and the lack of sleep that I helped cause while you were in school. Looking back, knowing firsthand the workload that comes with attending Notre Dame as well as law school, the determination it took to excel both as a student and as a mother is a trait that few have. It's also a testament to her intellectual ability. I may be a bit biased, but she absolutely is the smartest person that I know. At every significant juncture of my life, I have picked up the phone or stopped by her house to discuss the situation that was at hand. And I can honestly say that she has never steered me in the wrong direction. She has the innate ability to assess a situation, ask the right questions, and come to a reasoned conclusion. Of course, all essential characteristics in an appellate judge. Both as a parent and as a judge, my mom has routinely put others' needs ahead of her own. As my sisters can attest, if we need anything at all, she is always there for us. As a professional, she has also made it a priority to help those that need it most, children and the less fortunate. Whether through her efforts to encourage attorneys to perform pro bono work, assisting in the creation of guidelines for the betterment of cases involving children's rights, or taking time to serve as a judge for We the People competitions, these selfless endeavors have helped countless individuals not only in Lake County, but across the state of Indiana. Part of my job today is also to provide some insight on who my mom is on a personal level. And I know she's probably squirming a little bit here, but no. And I can't do this without discussing two of her loves, her dogs and Notre Dame. There's no question that the difficulty of my sisters leaving the house for college has been eased by her 2 rescue dogs, Layla and Jojo. As a heads up, you might have a conversation where Layla sounds like an actual person. Don't be alarmed. If you have the chance to meet Layla, and if you are walking around the streets of Indianapolis, you'll then understand. Growing up in Mishawaka with a father who graduated from Notre Dame meant that my mom had blue and gold running through her veins from an early age. And she certainly passed that down to her kids. Catherine, not so much, but at least to be a Christian. Because she was not going to miss a Notre Dame home game while she was in school, I vividly remember being smuggled into the student section for every home game of the 1989 season at 7 years old. I appreciate that. We even made it to the bowl game in Miami that year. We still get together for a couple tailgates and Saturday night watch parties a year, where my mom's familiar "Yeah, baby" rings out whenever the Irish score. Thankfully, there were a lot of those on Saturday versus Stanford. In closing, decency is a trait that unfortunately seems to be more and more a trouble in everyday life. And I'm here to say my mom exudes decency in all that she does, both personally and professionally. I'm proud to confirm that Governor Holcomb has selected a determined, intelligent, selfless person to serve on the Indiana Court of Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Next, we have a former classmate at Notre Dame Law School with Judge Tavitas, Patricia Mclaughlin. She's the Assistant Director of Career Development at the Notre Dame Law School now, and she will speak on behalf of Judge Tavitas.
Governor Holcomb, honored guests, distinguished jurists, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patty Mclaughlin, and I'm a proud classmate and friend of Judge Elizabeth Tavitas. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Development at Notre Dame Law School, and I'm honored to speak to you today on the occasion of Beth's appointment to the appellate court for the great state of Indiana. Judge Tavitas and I started law school in the fall of 1987, and I remember you when you were a little boy, by the way. You were adorable. You wouldn't know it. It was 31 years ago, and you wouldn't know it by looking at Beth, because I'm firmly convinced that she has a portrait of herself in the attic that ages, because she never seems to age herself. And for the record, I don't think that's fair. Beth graduated from Notre Dame with her undergraduate degree in 1985 and served as an adult probation officer prior to entering law school. We were both very fortunate for our time in law school at Notre Dame. We had a great class, amazing professors, a lot of fun, believe it or not, and a national championship in football while we were there. Notre Dame has a way of sticking to you and sticking with you in your life. You really do feel like you're part of the family, and that never leaves you. Beth has served the people of Indiana for the majority of her career, but despite her hectic schedule as a judge and mother, she also found time to serve the community. We at Notre Dame have been directly benefited from her contributions. Beth is an invaluable member of the Notre Dame Law Alumni Board, to which she was elected in 2010, and served as Regional Director for Region 6, which includes Illinois and Northern Indiana, for 6 years. She continues to serve on the Executive Advisory Committee and is a member of our Clerkship Committee. She has been instrumental in our success. As a direct result of the work done on this committee, we have seen an increase in our students' interest in serving the public as judicial clerks and their success in attaining postgraduate clerkship. This increase is due in no small part to the work Judge Tavitas has done on this committee. She is always available to help students and to advise them whenever she is called. Judge Tavitas' personal commitment to the public good is further exemplified by her support of our Notre Dame law students. She's been a long-standing member of the Order of St. Thomas More, which is a law school giving society. Members of the Order of St. Thomas More support areas of greatest need at the law school, including financial aid, student summer funding, and student loan forgiveness. Judge Tavitas is also part of a small group of alumni who launched an initiative in 2013 and established the Notre Dame lawyer committees around the country. Notre Dame lawyer committees are groups of lawyers with a Notre Dame degree that provide local support for all Notre Dame alumni with law degrees and Notre Dame law students. This network is accessible to both current students and all Notre Dame lawyers for employment opportunities, professional development, educational programming, and to foster a spirit of cooperation, camaraderie, and support. Judge Tavitas established 2 separate groups in Region 6, Notre Dame Lawyers of Lake County, Illinois, and Notre Dame Lawyers of Northern Indiana. These groups have provided excellent opportunities for our alumni to engage with our students and network with each other. I could go on about Judge Tavitas' accomplishments and the direct impact Beth has had on the law school, but I was told to keep this to 5 minutes, so I'm going to move straight to the reasons I feel so fortunate to have Beth as my friend. Many years ago, when Beth's daughters were very young, they all came to New York City, and my family and I had the opportunity to spend some time with them. I'm a New Yorker, in case you didn't catch the accent. So we're sitting in this restaurant on 52nd and 7th in the heart of the theater district, and I'm thinking I'm a pretty sophisticated New York South. All the kids are sitting around the table. It's like idyllic scene until my daughter Daisy, who was about 5 or 6 at the time, but is going to turn 20 in a week and a half, so it's a little while ago, she throws up all over the table. And all over the new coat that was, I don't know if it was Catherine's or Christian's, but it was one of yours. So I do want to let you know Daisy has not eaten cheesecake since that day. Your coats are safe. Okay. My family and I moved back to South Bend, Indiana in August of 2009. And one of the many wonderful blessings from that move was the opportunity to reconnect with Notre Dame friends, Beth being chiefly among them. In January of 2013, I was in Miami for the national championship game, which was a great weekend until the game started. I had communicated with Beth and knew that she was there also, but I told her I didn't think I would be able to meet up with her because I was booked with things for the university. On one particular evening, I told her I was attending an event that was impossible to get tickets for. It was the hottest ticket on South Beach that night for Notre Dame people. The '88 championship team was there, Lou Holtz was there, Regis Philbin. So I'm walking through the venue, which was an Irish bar, and I hear my name, and I look up, and there's Beth. She and another member of our class had talked themselves into the party, and I got to spend time with her, which was a much bigger deal for me than spending time with Regis Philbin, who is very nice, but I like Beth better. Beth, I would like you to know that I really respect you as a classmate, as a friend, but mostly as a woman. I admire a lot of things about you, but what I admire most are your resilience and your grace. We all know that Beth is very intelligent and works very hard. We wouldn't be here today if that were not the truth. But she has that unique quality that allows her to face real hardship and come back stronger than ever, kinder than before, and more determined. For me, this is truly inspirational, and I know that the people of Indiana will be served well because of it. So on behalf of Dean Nell Newton, who could not be with us today because of a previous commitment, Tammy Raster, the faculty, staff, and students of Notre Dame Law School, Beth, we're so proud of you. We will continue to pray for your success in chambers and in life, and we're so grateful that you are part of our family. Thank you.
I made allusion earlier to the Graduate Judges Program, and Judge Tavitas is a graduate from the Graduate Judges Program, and there are many people here who graduated with her in the same class. And I know that it's a program that's been appreciated by many, many judges. And one of those is her fellow graduate from that program, Andrea McCord from Lawrence Circuit Court. And Andrea, would you be so kind, Honorable Andrea McCord, to give your speech?
Thank you. It is a wonderful crowd. Governor, Chief Justice Rush, Chief Judge Vedic, distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, To say that I'm very humbled and excited to be here today speaking to you doesn't really express how I'm feeling. It's just a joy to be in a room filled with other people who love and care about my friend Judge Tavitas. And when I was asked to speak, someone told me I should tell funny stories, but I know my own limitations, and I also know there are stories that we're not going to tell here today. So I'm going to leave the comedy and humor to Justice David, who I know couldn't be here, and I'm just going to tell you about my friend Beth. She believed that she could, so she did. Imagine if we all lived our lives that way every day. My friend Judge Tavitas has that mantra on a bracelet on her arm as a reminder to live life to her full potential. Today, we celebrate her doing just that. I join you all in honoring her latest accomplishments with great pleasure. The other Judge McCord, my brother-in-law, asked me how it worked out that we were such good friends being from Lake County and Lawrence County. Well, that's part of the secret of the Indiana judiciary. We come together as friends and colleagues despite our geographical or philosophical differences. In the courtroom, a family law case is still a family law case, whether you're from a jurisdiction of 45,000, like I am, or 500,000. And we all need those fellow judicial officers who know what we deal with on a day-to-day basis, to be there for us when we just want to vent about how many protective order cases we have, or sometimes just to listen when a child case becomes overwhelming. This is why some of our closest friends and favorite people are other judges. Beth always has the time to listen and share of her heart and her intellects in any situation, and from time to time, even her karaoke abilities. I will say, however, that is not her true talent. Her true talent, as has already been stated, is service. Those of us who give of our time and our talent would like to think that we embody a servant heart. However, in our busy lives filled with more and more demands on our time, we find this is not always the case. A true servant heart, a pure one, is really hard to find. It has been defined in many ways, often meaning to be helpful to a person no matter what their circumstances, having compassion to want to help them from the start, and doing so humbly and without recognition. There's a great divide between serving others for our own gain and serving with a humble heart. Some serve to pad their own resumes or toot their own horns. Then there are those that are truly serving as they have been called, often unrecognized, using their talents to graciously serve, hiding behind the stability and hope they provide. It's not about them, but more about the right outcome. This is the heart of my friend Beth. Her work has embodied that spirit in her public service, and I was asked to talk a little bit about her career and accomplishments. The list is really lengthy, so I will just hit a few highlights for you. Judge Tavitas is a 2007 Indiana Judicial College graduate and a graduate of the 2012 Indiana Graduate Program for Judges, where I am told by the classmates that she chose the front row with a plethora of different colored markers, Post-it notes, and a large bag of Twizzlers. Yes, she is that student who did not want to miss one word of the lecture that she would later diligently transfer to note cards. This thorough and meticulous work ethic is reflected throughout her career. Judge Tavitas served on the Juvenile Bench Book Committee and Domestic Relations Committees, among other responsibilities and duties as a trial judge. She's been a board member of the Northwest Indiana Volunteer Lawyers Incorporated and served as chair of that board from 2007 to 2012. She previously served as a judicial appointing member of the Indiana Pro Bono Commission from 2007 through 2012, and from 2009 through 2013, she served as a board member for the Indiana Legal Services Incorporated. Throughout her career, Judge Tavitas has done extensive work to ensure that low-income Hoosiers have access to justice in all areas of the state. As judge of the Lake Superior Court, she had immediate control and supervision of the Pro Se Legal Clinic, which was established as a result of grant funds from the Supreme Court. She further chaired the Clinic Advisory Board, which was created to expand and improve the clinic. She has given numerous presentations regarding the court's Pro Se Legal Clinic and its services, and shared her court's forms and procedures for the clinic, which assisted other counties to develop their own program. The clinic has been a great success, and since its implementation, it has now served over 2,000 low-income families and children. It's a continuing example of Beth's heart for service. In October of 2015, she was named Influential Woman of the Year in Law in Northwest Indiana. That was and is truly fitting, as Beth has an enviable supply of moral courage that guides her. She is the embodiment of the type of person that should be emulated by her peers. Knowing her as a friend as well as a colleague, I am confident in saying that she is the kind of integrity and work ethic that we need at our highest levels in government. In my conversations with her over the years, I've seen her humanity and her humility, two personal characteristics necessary for a judge to understand the positions and concerns of the parties to a case. Moreover, she is patient, open-minded, and courteous. The best judges have these traits in abundance. She also puts her heart and soul into projects and committee work and is a stickler for detail and proficiency. Judge Tavitas has a broad spectrum of experience, and she will evoke a sense of trust in her ability to analyze complex litigation issues by both the judiciary and the bar. On a personal note, and I know I speak on behalf of several of my other judicial colleagues that are here today when I say that Beth is a consummate friend. Our friendship has included those special times when we laughed until we cried, as well as some not so great times when we cried until we could laugh. We have traveled together, learned together, sang badly together. I even used a spoon to eat the cupcake she got me for my birthday because she dropped the box down the stairs, and that is just part of being her friend. She helped me celebrate my 50th birthday with a trip to Wrigley Field to see Billy Joel, and she made this small town girl feel like Chicago wasn't so big and that age is only a number. No matter what the reason for being together, you can always count on Beth to be kind, discerning, and graceful in any situation. She's a remarkable person who I and many others here are honored to call our friend. She also has an undying commitment to her children and now her beautiful granddaughter, of whom copious numbers of photos or in various Notre Dame attire are sent to myself and several other judges on a regular basis. The most recent were of her in a Bears onesie, followed by a Reagan Bush '84 onesie. We assume her father had a lot to do with that. Her serving and compassionate heart has carried over to her family also. Her daughter Christian related to me that during her first year of law school at Georgetown, she was too stressed and busy to go home for Thanksgiving. She had only gone home once her first semester, and she was really missing home, but especially her dogs. So being the mom that she is, Beth drove from Indiana to DC and brought the dogs with her to spend Thanksgiving with their daughter. Christian said, "I don't think many busy judges would find the time or will to do that for their daughters. It was one of the most caring and selfless things anyone has ever done for me. My mom doesn't just work hard in the courtroom, she works hard for the people she loves." When I asked her other daughter, Catherine, her thoughts on her mom's recent appointment, she said, "I think what was so special about her getting this job is that I know how hard she worked for it for months straight. I call her on Sundays usually, and she'd tell me her plans for the day would be to practice for her upcoming interviews. Every round she made was a huge accomplishment because she worked tirelessly on end for it, and what was really inspiring is that she wasn't focused on the others running. Rather, she was doing this solely for her own personal accomplishment, and she actually achieved it. Somebody once said that the definition of torment would be if on your last day on earth, the person you became would meet the person you could have become. On that day, Judge Tavitas will have no torment or anguish. She will always strive to be her best self because she believes that she can, and she will. Well done, my friend.
Very nice, Judge McCord. I think you captured Judge Tavitas, but you also underestimate your comic ability. Now the main event. The main event is the swearing-in ceremony. You have met Nathan, who is an attorney from Chicago. You're now going to meet Christian, who is a second-year Georgetown Law Center student. And then during the robing ceremony, you're going to be meeting Catherine as well, who is a senior at NYU. You've done well, Judge Tavitas. So, Chief Justice Rush, you're doing the honors. If you'd all meet over here.
Ready? All right. I state your name.
I, Elizabeth F. Tavitas,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of Judge of the Court of Appeals of Indiana
of Judge of the Court of Appeals of Indiana
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
You have the floor, Judge Tavitas.
Thank you. Oh, goodness, I can't live up to everything that's been said about me today, but Governor Holcomb, Chief Justice Rush, Chief Judge Vedic, my colleagues, all members of the judiciary, friends, family, thank you all so very much for being here today. This really is a dream come true for me. Thank you, Governor Holcomb. I'm so honored and humbled by the appointment to serve on the Indiana Court of Appeals, and I really cannot thank you enough. To my family, thank you all for all of your love and support. My son Nathan, I am so proud of him. He's a great husband to Evie, who is not in here because of the baby, and a great father to Susanna Elizabeth. And I say Susanna Elizabeth because she's named after both grandmothers, so love that. So Nathan, as you heard, graduated from Notre Dame and Loyola Law School, and he was telling me, or telling you all, how he would come to me for advice. I actually set him up with his wife, believe it or not. Who gets to pick their own daughter-in-law? I did, and I'm so happy for both of them and for Susanna. And Evie is a wonderful mother, by the way. I'm very proud of her. I wish she was in here, but she'll have to watch this later. Becoming a grandmother has been a wonderful thing. Susanna has brought so much joy to me and my family. And then my daughter, Christian, who's here from Georgetown Law School. She took off the day to be here. I appreciate that. I'm so proud of her. Christian went to Notre Dame undergraduate and then to Georgetown Law School, and she is serving in the public service section. And she is very dedicated to children and families and has interned ever since she was a freshman in college at Notre Dame. She's always chosen to intern during the summers and work for free. So she's never made a dime, but she's done a lot of good. So I'm so proud of her. She's always volunteering her time. Not only does she go to law school, she's interning for the Department of Education, Civil Rights Division. When she came home for the first football game, Notre Dame football game, I had asked her, I said, so what'd you do at work today? How did you like it? She says, Mom, it's secret, it's confidential, I can't tell you. So she takes her job very seriously. And then Catherine is the one that I think was so tired of Notre Dame that she wanted to forge her own path and is at NYU in fashion business. And I think she's worked for every fashion designer since she's been there in New York. She always finds these great internships with all these fashion designers. Last year she was working for 2 of them at the same time and going to school full time. So I'm very proud of her. My sister Marianne and her husband Lou are here from Mishawaka, and I'm so happy you're here. My brother David, we were all in town last week in Indianapolis for Mary Ann and Lou's daughter. She was married by me. And so my brother was here for a long time, so couldn't stay. So I wish he could be here, but he couldn't. So I grew up in Mishawaka. I attended Mishawaka High School. I have some of my high school friends here today. And I'm so happy to have them all here. So Notre Dame has been a large part of my life, and I'm so happy that Patty could be here and share why Notre Dame is so important to me. And my father went there. He received his 3 degrees in engineering there. He and my mother were married at the Basilica there. I was baptized there. My daughters were baptized there. It just goes on and on and on. Oh, and my great uncle played for Newt Rockney. True story. So, yeah, it's in my blood. So, and we do still watch the Notre Dame games together, either going to the games together as a family or sitting in the living room as I did as a child with my parents, watching every Notre Dame game. I was there the other night at my son's house, and poor Susanna, I was holding her for 2 hours during the game, and we scream and yell during the game. So, so my son screamed, and of course Susanna woke up, like, what's the screaming that's going on? So she's gonna have to get used to that, and the screaming. And we all joke that her first song will be the Notre Dame Fighting Irish song, so we'll see about that, and I'm sure she will be learning that pretty quickly. I wish my parents were here today. I lost them early, but I want to thank my parents today for teaching all of us what was important in life: family, faith, friends, and education. They taught us to treat people the way we want to be treated. They taught us to have a good moral character always and to do the right thing always. They taught us compassion and how to help those less fortunate. We always had someone at our family gatherings during the holidays. My parents always invited those who did not have a home to go to or family to go to during the holidays. And not too many people do that. My parents were very special. And I miss them very much. Currently, I serve on the Notre Dame Law Association board, and I have a student here that I've mentored. I saw him at a tailgate party a couple of weeks ago, and I mentored him, and I would see him I also would go to the Chicago events, and he would be there. And I said, I want you to come, and he said he would. And so I mentor him, yet he's taught me more about life than I could ever teach him. So thank you, Matthew, for attending here today. It's so nice to see you. I also want to thank another board member on the Notre Dame Law Association, Nancy. She has welcomed me, she and her husband have welcomed me into their home during my transition period. My trips down here for my interviews, meetings, and my transition until I found some place to live. So I very much appreciate it. I call it the Mark and Nancy bed and breakfast. And they're wonderful hosts. Nancy actually got up one morning and baked a blueberry pie at 4 o'clock in the morning for me. So it doesn't get any better than that. So thank you. And Patty, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate your kind words. And I have many great, loyal friends here today. I have judge friends that I've made throughout the 20 years that I have served as a judicial officer, and so many of you are here today, and I so appreciate it. Many I met at the Indiana Judges Program, graduate program, which is a wonderful program, and I hope it will continue forever. We learned so much, but the friendships that we made, I can't say enough about how much that means to me. Being a trial court judge has a lot of challenges, and to be able to have these friends in my life and be able to talk not only about legal issues, but about the stresses of being on the bench, and to be able to share those stories with each other and know that it's going to stay confidential. It has been a big part of the joy of being a judicial officer, so I appreciate that. And I will say that I pretty much hear from them every single day, which is wonderful. Sometimes I will pick up the phone and I'll have 25 texts because we have this text group of people, and we always keep in touch because we're from all over the state, as Judge McCord indicated. So that's how we keep in touch. So thank goodness for technology. So thank you all for being here, and all my friends and my judicial friends. I appreciate. Gosh, I wonder if any court work is getting done today with all of you here. And my former staff is here somewhere, I think. They made it. There they are. Okay. Thank you for being here, and thank you for always making me look good and for all your service. My staff, they're true public servants as well. They so enjoyed helping people. They understood that litigants coming to court were stressed and concerned about the most important things in their lives, and yet they always had this customer-friendly attitude, and they are known for being those type of people that make you feel comfortable when you come into the courtroom. So thank you for representing me and for being so loyal and hardworking. I really appreciate it. And to the rest of my friends, thank you all for being here today. Some of them I've known since I was 5. I've got a couple of my friends that I'm still friends with, and they're here. They are at every happy event in my life, and sad events, you know. It's weddings, funerals, and judgeships, I guess. But they're always there, so I appreciate that. And I get to see Heidi at the Notre Dame games. I see her all the time, so it's nice to see her here today, not at a Notre Dame game, but here instead. My book club is here. I have the best book club. It's the I Didn't Read the Book club. The books are always good, but the friendship and the laughter have been wonderful. And we have gone through many things together, unfortunately, death, sickness, those types of things, but we always are laughing and try to find the joy in everything, and I appreciate their support and for them being here today. And my neighbors are here somewhere. I have great neighbors. We live in a cul-de-sac, and they're like family. So thank you for being here. And I know I have forgotten so many of you, and I'm not going to keep you all too long, and thank everyone. But thank you to my new staff, to the new administration, to my colleagues. I thank you. You all have been so welcoming. I work with a great group of classy, intelligent, kind people, and they have so welcomed me with dinners and lunches. A couple of them had offered for me to stay in their spare bedrooms. So I couldn't be happier with the welcoming that I have gotten. So thank you so much. And to work with them is really just such a pleasure. And Judge Barnes, I never am going to try to take your place, but I'm not going to try. But I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you as a senior judge on the court. And Governor Holcomb, and your legal team, I have to tell you, they are outstanding. The work that they have done for the selection process throughout the state of Indiana. They work so hard and really cross every T and dot every I. And they were such a joy to meet. I really appreciated all the work that they're doing and what they are doing for the judiciary in Indiana. They have a lot of work to do, and they're doing it so well. And Governor Holcomb has been wonderful. He has such an amiable personality and made me feel comfortable right away during the interview. He's truly excited to serve Indiana, and his passion for Indiana and for doing what's right for Indiana is palpable every time you're around him, and it's exciting to see that. But I have to say I'm jealous of him. He's attended a Notre Dame game, and he got to sit in the press box at Notre Dame. And I have not. Patty, maybe you can do something about that? Okay, all right, thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Henry, the governor's dog. When I walked into the meeting room, Henry greeted me with a wag of a tail and a look in his eyes like, please pet me. And I thought, oh goodness, this is gonna go okay now, because I know as a dog lover, if your dog doesn't like somebody, watch out. So, so he was cute. And thank you, Chief Justice Rush, for your leadership of the courts and the Judicial Nominating Commission. And you're welcome. I appreciate everything that you have done for Indiana. And Chief Judge Vedic, for all of your mentorship and your advice and your collegiality. Thank you so much. I really appreciate how welcoming you have been. I really do have the best job in the world. I'm so happy to serve on the Court of Appeals. I loved being a trial court judge, and as I will always have that in my heart. I loved being in the courtroom. I loved being a lawyer and a judge in the courtroom. And by the way, I have the best courtroom in Lake County. So stop by and see it if you ever get a chance. It's beautiful. But it has all prepared me for this job, and I'm so happy to be on this court with the colleagues that are here on the court. In closing, I have been so fortunate to have a long career that has prepared me for my duties. Each job I've had has been a wonderful experience. I've loved each job as a deputy prosecutor, public defender, referee, trial court judge, and lawyer. I have great respect for all the trial court judges. I know the challenges of the job. I won't forget that. Those challenges, though, have helped prepare me for my new duties. I am proud to be a Hoosier. I was born, raised, and educated in Indiana, and I'm so proud to serve in this capacity as judge of the Court of Appeals of Indiana. Thank you again, Governor Holcomb, for your confidence in me. I'm so honored to serve. And thank you all again for attending here today to celebrate with me.
Welcome to our court, Judge Tavitas. This is not only a new beginning for you, but it's a new beginning for the court. Every time a new member of the court comes on, it's a different court. Chief Justice Roberts said that judging is like being an umpire calling balls and strikes. I have a little different metaphor to use. I think that an appellate court is a beehive. Bees, not that way, you guys. Now, come on. Bees work together in this enclosed structure, hives. They're working together, they're communicating with each other to try to produce the best honey that they can. Their communication is they buzz at each other and they waggle, and waggling is they have this intimate dance that they do figure eights in order to communicate with one another, and it's all for one purpose, and that is to produce the best honey. Well, courts are like that, and particularly appellate courts. We're in this enclosed little hive, talking to each other at length, listening to one another, negotiating in order to form the perfect opinion and produce the best justice. Each opinion is influenced by every member on the court. And we're looking forward to the perspective that you bring to us and the difference that you make in our discussions and our opinions. Your life experiences as a mother, as a grandmother, as a trial court judge, as a Notre Dame graduate, as a worker for pro bono litigants and access to justice, and your work with guardian ad litems, and as a public defender and a prosecutor, all are just such deep experiences that will really make a difference to our court. But bees also pollinate. In Indiana, we need our bees for blueberry pollination, strawberry pollination, and apple pollination. And but for the pollination, we would not have those fruits. Our court, it's true, handed down about 2,200 opinions last year. And we did it from the time that they were fully briefed until the time that it was handed down. It was an average of 1.7 months. That's not too shabby. But that's only part of the job. We also are bees that go out and pollinate. I look at all of my colleagues here. They're professors at law school. They teach CLEs. They teach for the judicial conference. They go to Rotary clubs. They're active in local, state, and national bar associations. They help Chief Justice Rush on committee work for the Supreme Court. Last year alone, we had 27 traveling oral arguments, and that means going to the road to schools to talk to people about the justice system and to have them see what it is that we do. That was more oral arguments than any other appellate court in the nation. That takes energy, it takes motivation, it takes enthusiasm, and it takes drive. And you know what? Those words describe you perfectly. I just want to tell you in 6 weeks what this woman has done. She has purchased a home in Indianapolis and moved in. She has hired her staff and redecorated her office. She's been to Inns of Court meetings, 2 in Indiana, bar meetings up in Lake County. She's taught her guardian ad litem program that she started up in Lake County, and she's talking now about making that statewide. She's written 7 opinions and voted on 27. She's already signed up for 9 traveling oral arguments. And that's not even including all the work that she did before she came and joined us. Elizabeth Tavitas is smart, she's motivated, she's collegial, and she has a broad range of experience. We look forward to our new beginnings, your new beginning, and your waggle and buzz. So now we have a reception outside. Everyone, we hope that you enjoy the food and you stay around and congratulate Judge Tavitas and her family. And this court is adjourned.
All rise. Court is adjourned.